Take a moment right now to simply slow down and breathe easily. Set aside all the noise in your mind for a little while and gently turn your focus inward to what you have truly been feeling deep beneath everything else. You may have noticed something lately that feels quite difficult to describe in simple words. There is a tightness that settles into your chest without any warning at all. A sudden memory of a certain person appears out of thin air. There is also a restless, electric kind of feeling that hums quietly just below the surface of your usual day. That feeling is not random, and it is certainly not just in your imagination. It serves as a very clear signal. Energy is flowing toward you at this very moment, and your deeper soul is noticing it, even before your conscious thoughts have time to fully understand what is happening. Your inner self works on a level that goes much deeper than any conversation or message. It picks up on tiny details that move faster than anything happening on the outside. This is exactly why you can feel that something is changing with this person before there is any clear, visible sign of it. That soft pull inside your chest, the one you often brush off as simple wishful thinking, is actually your inner guide letting you know that this connection still has important parts left to experience. If you have been feeling that sudden tightness in your chest or a pull towards someone, hit like right now. This is usually how such things happen. Just before a big change appears in the outside world, a quiet pressure starts to build up within you. It feels like an energetic tension that you notice without being able to explain it completely. That is precisely the situation you are in at this moment. Small openings are forming in what used to be complete silence. New paths are starting to show where there once seemed to be only solid walls. Your place in this person's life has not disappeared the way you might have worried it did. While you were dealing with your own questions and living with uncertainty, something was quietly changing inside them. The protective walls they had built around their heart from fear, pride, and the desire to stay in control have been slowly breaking down. The strong feeling you have been sensing lately is there because they are now holding emotions they can no longer hide away. The real truth is rising to the surface whether they feel ready for it or not. The bond you share goes far beyond ordinary thinking. It is not something that distance or time can simply remove by itself. To truly understand why this change is happening now and why the coming days will feel clearly different, it helps to consider what this person has actually been going through in the quiet time between you. They have been moving with care, keeping some space while still observing from the background. They were caught between their own uncomfortable fears and a strong pull toward you that they tried very hard to deny existed. Comment pull if you have been sensing their energy lately even without contact. During the period apart, they filled their days with activities that seemed okay from the outside. They looked calm and in charge, like someone who had simply moved on and found a new routine, but that look was only a cover. It was a mask they used even for themselves, so they could continue believing that pulling back was the correct decision. As more time went by, that mask became heavier to carry. Underneath it, a silent inner struggle was taking place that nobody around them could see. Night after night, they struggled with their true emotions. They used reason to explain the distance and told themselves it was the safer and wiser path to follow. Some of this came from pride, some from fear, and some from not knowing how to handle feelings that felt too large to manage easily. That situation happens more often than most people understand. Sometimes a person steps away not because they feel nothing, but exactly because they feel too deeply. Being truly seen by someone else can feel upsetting at first. It can bring up worries about losing control or about getting hurt again. But when two people are truly meant to connect on a deeper level, all the reasoning in the world eventually loses its strength. Slowly, the protective walls they had created around themselves started to become weaker. As that happened, they began to notice that life without you felt less bright and missing something important they could not easily name or replace. A fresh awareness started to grow inside them. They realized that the guarded and controlled version of themselves they had been showing was not their real self. It was only a part they had been playing, and it no longer suited them. Every attempt they made to move further ahead and create more space between you was quietly stopped by something that kept bringing their thoughts back. It was not just missing a person in the usual way, but something that touched their deepest sense of who they are. It became a turning moment for them, something like a personal awakening. There were times when they tried to cover those feelings by staying very busy with noise, people, and different distractions. But even then, comparisons kept coming in. Thoughts they would never speak out loud continued to drift back toward you. All of this was building up quietly under the surface and leading to the change you are now starting to sense. Something is shifting, and this time it does not have the same easy ways out that the old distractions once gave. A person can only remain in avoidance for so long before their deeper self becomes completely tired from the effort. And that is exactly where this person is right now. The life they built to hold their true feelings away is no longer giving them the same numbness it once did. They had told themselves that enough space would weaken the connection, that enough quiet would slowly reduce the strength of what they felt, and that enough time would gently remove your presence from their emotional world. But the opposite took place. The longer the separation lasted, the clearer their feelings became. Instead of growing weaker, you became more present in their thoughts. They started noticing you in the small empty spaces they had not expected, in the quiet time before sleep, and in conversations that suddenly felt empty. Type yes if your intuition is telling you something is shifting with them. In busy places where they still felt completely alone, even with noise and activity around them, something kept directing their attention back to you. That is when a deeper understanding started to grow roots. They began to see that what they shared with you was not an ordinary link or short excitement. It was something that had reached parts of them that nobody else had ever touched. Once that understanding came, it changed how they saw everything around them. Because once you realize a bond is truly special, you cannot return to treating it as if it is not. Their thoughts may still try to argue against it, but the heart starts to speak with a strength that ordinary logic cannot overcome. There have been nights when they sat by themselves and remembered conversations you may have stopped thinking about long ago. Small moments that once seemed nothing special now carry great meaning in their memory. The way you looked at them during a hard time, the calm your presence brought without any effort, and the special ease of being with someone you do not have to pretend for. That kind of emotional safety is truly rare. The empty space it leaves behind is not something you can easily fill with other things. They have been trying to fill it, and it has not worked. The more they looked for it in other places, the more clearly they understood what was really there between you. At first, pride told them they could move ahead without any problem and that they were stronger than the feeling. But pride always reaches a limit, and it eventually meets the reality of true emotional truth. For this person, that limit has now arrived. They have started to see the connection in a new way. It is no longer something they think they can simply choose or replace whenever they want. They are beginning to realize that meeting you changed something in them forever. It is not something they can just decide to undo. While all of this has been happening inside them, something has also been changing inside you. Even if you still think about this person often and wonder what might happen next, you are not in the same emotional place you were before. Something inside you has become stronger and calmer through all of this. You have learned what it really feels like to reach towards someone who is not meeting you in the middle. You felt the exhaustion that comes with carrying the weight of an entire connection on your own shoulders. You have stood in the silence and learned to value your own peace above the chaos of waiting for someone else to find their way. This growth was necessary, even if it arrived through heartbreak or long periods of questioning. You are realizing that you are not just a piece of their story, but a person with your own value, strength, and life purpose. Because you have stepped into this new sense of self, the dynamic between you has fundamentally shifted. They can no longer take your presence for granted, because you are no longer operating from a place of desperation or need. You have become more grounded, more centered, and more selective about what you allow into your heart. This shift in you is exactly what is drawing them back in such a powerful way. They are no longer chasing someone who is waiting by the door. They are witnessing someone who is blooming, someone who has learned to be happy regardless of whether they choose to walk back into your life or not. This creates a magnetic pull that is much stronger than before. They are seeing that you are a person of substance and depth who has handled the pain of silence with grace and dignity. It forces them to look at their own actions and ask if they are really the kind of person who deserves to be part of the life you are building for yourself. The feelings they are experiencing are a mixture of regret for the time they lost and a deep growing desire to be part of the future you are creating. It is a realization that they were not just pushing you away, but they were actually pushing away the best, most authentic part of their own life. Slowly, through all the confusion and those long, quiet periods, you started bringing your own energy back to yourself. That change is much more meaningful than it might appear on the surface, because when you stopped stretching yourself too thin and stopped being constantly available in the hope that it would finally be enough, everything in the energy between you two began to transform. There was a time when your feelings were almost entirely pointed outward toward this person. How you felt on any given day often depended on whether they replied, whether they appeared in your life, or whether they finally acknowledged you. But at some point, you became truly tired of that exhausting cycle. This did not happen in a loud, dramatic way, but rather because your inner self finally understood that your own peace of mind had real, lasting value. You gently turned your energy back toward your own heart. You did not do this because you stopped caring about them, but because you finally began caring for yourself with the same kind of steady, consistent attention you had been giving away to others. That decision created a significant energetic shift. When someone is always sending their focus outward, their presence can eventually start to feel like something in the background that others just take for granted. Comment awakening if you believe they are starting to feel the weight of what they lost. However, when that energy quietly turns inward and becomes calm, the lack of it becomes impossible for others to overlook. That is exactly what this person is noticing right now. They are feeling your distance in a completely new way because your energy no longer carries the same desperate urgency or constant need for their validation. Instead of making the connection feel weaker, your withdrawal has pushed them to face, with total honesty, what they have actually been missing. This is the primary reason why they have become so restless lately. Some deep part of them senses that you are growing, evolving, and moving forward. The version of you who waited, tried so hard, and made themselves smaller is turning into something entirely different. That realization brings a sudden sense of urgency to them, because time suddenly feels like it might not last forever. People often struggle to see the true value of something until they have spent enough time living without it. This person is now sitting with the full, heavy weight of every moment they waited too long to act. They are forced to confront every feeling they pushed away, and every single time fear guided their choices. For the first time, they cannot easily avoid that hard truth. Sometimes, a period of separation is not what finally ends a bond, but rather what makes the nature of it much clearer. Distance has a unique way of exposing emotional patterns that simply cannot be ignored. It reveals exactly where fear lives inside a person and exactly where someone has been losing themselves while searching for love from the wrong sources. It also shows clearly what each person is like when they stand completely on their own. This time apart has changed both of you, but in very different ways. For you, it helped you rediscover your own value without needing their approval to confirm it. For them, it provided the painful experience of moving through life without your special energy present. That is why what you are feeling right now carries so much weight and meaning. The things that were hidden under layers of avoidance are now rising to the surface, demanding to be seen. This person is beginning to understand that they do not just miss your attention. They miss your unique energy, your emotional depth, and the special, effortless way they felt when they were around you. They miss the comfort of being truly understood without ever needing to explain themselves. That realization has grown strong enough that they can no longer set it aside or bury it easily. What they are experiencing is not just a passing mood or a few difficult, lonely nights. It has become something steady that follows them through their daily life, whether they try to engage with it or attempt to push it away. There are times when they are doing something completely normal, like running an errand or working, and a sudden memory of you completely takes over their attention. A specific sound, a familiar smell, a certain word, or just a particular time of day all begin to carry faint traces of you. At first, these moments made them feel quite uneasy because they wanted to believe they had complete control over their inner thoughts. They wanted to be the ones to decide exactly when you entered their mind and when you did not. But deep emotional truth does not follow those kinds of rules. The stronger the bond, the more naturally it appears, entirely on its own, regardless of their wishes. They are now reaching the point where fighting the connection takes much more effort than it ever gives back in return. The walls they built for safety have started to feel more like a prison of isolation than a place of protection. The silence they once thought was necessary has begun to feel heavy, uncomfortable, and difficult to bear. It has pushed them into a period of deep, honest thinking. From that place of reflection, they are looking back at everything that happened with fresh, clear eyes. They are remembering all those times when you tried your best to understand them while they remained completely closed off and guarded. They recall moments when you showed a level of patience they never fully appreciated at the time. Those memories now carry a completely different meaning, because they can finally see what was truly being offered to them. Real love can often feel ordinary or expected when it is there every single day. You do not always notice its special, rare quality until it is no longer present to comfort you. This person is now seeing how rare what you offered truly was. They see the honesty, the depth, the steadiness, and the immense comfort of being with someone who allowed them to simply be themselves without judgment. They have searched for pieces of that feeling in other places, in other people, and in other distractions, but they have found nothing each time. That failure only makes your importance in their life much clearer to them. There were many nights when they tried hard to move on completely, only to have their thoughts drift right back to you before the night was over. Drop in a compass below if you have been getting strong, undeniable signs from the universe about this person. Think about those moments when they tried to cut the emotional connection entirely and felt an even stronger, more magnetic pull right after. Every single attempt to escape the bond only made them more painfully aware of it, rather than less. This happens because what existed between you was never just a surface-level connection. Something inside them truly saw something real, authentic and beautiful inside you. That kind of deep seeing does not simply vanish just because someone decides it should. That change in their understanding has altered your energy in a fundamental way. Whether they have the courage to say it out loud or not, they feel the difference. They sense that you are no longer following them emotionally, waiting for them, or reacting to their cues the way you once did. They notice that you have become more settled, more grounded within yourself, less worried, and significantly less dependent on their replies to maintain your own balance. Strangely, that is exactly what has made their awareness of you grow much stronger than it was before. When someone stops forcing love and returns to their own path, their energy takes on a new magnetic quality. You became calm. In that calm, they were finally left alone with the full, unfiltered strength of their own feelings, without the distraction of your earlier urgency to hide behind. Their thoughts keep returning to this connection, like a river finding its natural course. Their emotions will not allow them to stay comfortably away from the truth any longer. That truth is becoming impossible to deny now. You matter to them, not in a light or casual way, but in a way that has truly changed how they experience closeness with another human being. That kind of realization feels incredibly unsettling for someone who has tried to stay in total control for a long period of time. Because once you fully accept how much someone means to you, you also have to accept the reality of being vulnerable, of taking risks, and of the terrifying chance of getting hurt again. Fear has guided their choices for quite some time now. It was a fear of being hurt, a fear of losing control, and a fear of being fully seen and then left alone. But fear eventually reaches its limit. The weight of avoiding the truth becomes much heavier than the weight of simply being honest and opening up. That is the stage they are slowly but clearly moving toward right now. The silence between you has stopped being empty for them. It has become emotionally loud, filled with all the things they never said. Every day they stay disconnected. The awareness growing inside them becomes more demanding. Every attempt to push the feeling down creates more internal pressure instead of the relief they were hoping for. This is precisely why the energetic changes you have been feeling lately have been so intense and overwhelming.